Well, hello runners, and welcome back to the 2021 Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon Virtual Speaker Series. We are thrilled to be joined today by a man who will be familiar to most, if not all of you, race director at Canada Running Series, Mr. Alan Brookes. From the outset, Alan has always strived to have a balance between sport and community. His mission has been building community through running, resting on the twin pillars of organization and innovation. Combined, they have helped make the sport he loves professional and relevant in Canada and put the city he loves on the world stage. I could go on and on about this man's lengthy and impressive biography, but it is so much more fun to chat with him. So Alan Brookes, welcome to our speaker series. How are you?
I'm very well, thank you. I'm excited about our in-person race coming up. It'll be different for sure, but it's such a positive move, and the fact that we're collaborating with Athletics Canada and our friends at Ottawa Race Weekend, it really is a great collaboration to, I think, before the year ends, this is what we wanted to do, before the end of the year, before the end of 2021, to have some rays of hope that we are on the way back. For sure, it's a cautious way back, and I'm so sure that Charlotte and some of the team who have been a lot more involved in the nuts and bolts, the weeds than me, will be able to explain much more. But the team have really had to go to some extraordinary lengths. You mentioned our history a little bit, and when we started in the city, when I started in 1986, we promised people an accurate and a safe race and an accurate finishing time and place. And that really hasn't changed. So the safety really has become so important for the restart of running in Canada. Woo!
Yay!
With a shout out to our friends in Winnipeg and Calgary, who've just recently put both feet in the water.
Mm-hmm. Yes, it is so exciting to see these events coming back in person. And as you said, always with a mind towards safety and making sure that everyone feels like there's good trust established with the various race organizations across our country. But fantastic examples being set, and I'm certain that this will be no exception. So Alan, this year marks the 25th anniversary of the partnership between the Toronto Waterfront Marathon and its title sponsor, Scotiabank. And you mentioned a few other already. I know there have been many strategic partnerships over the years, over the decades, really, between all of the Toronto events that you have put on, events that have now spread across the country as well. But one of the really important ones, particularly for this race, has been Scotiabank. This will also be the last year that Scotiabank is in this role as the title sponsor for this event. Maybe we can start by you telling us what it means to have a title sponsor and how that partnership started a quarter century ago. Because what we now know is the STWM Race Weekend has gone through many iterations and sponsors over the decades.
Yeah, well, obviously having partners is key. Just like I mentioned a few moments ago about the collaboration on our race weekend this year. And I was at a talk a couple of years ago at Running USA, and one of the speakers mentioned that sponsors pay for events, partners help build them. And that has really been at the essence of our partnership with Scotiabank. Can't thank them enough. In the early years, people like Warren Jeston, who was the chief economist and executive vice president and sub 4-hour marathon runner, Jim Tobin in marketing, they really shared our vision, and they created together, we crafted an agreement that has, as you say, lasted a quarter century. And what we've been able to build together has really, I think, surpassed any of our imaginations when we began this journey in 1997 together. So can't thank them enough, and we look forward to a safe and secure but mini celebration this race weekend to say thank you, Scotiabank. You've been an amazing, amazing partner, and you always remember the people that got you to the dance, while at the same time moving on to an exciting new partner that we hope will take us to the next level.
I love what you said there about the difference between sponsors and partners. And I think, sometimes there's room for a group to be both. But the fact that there's sort of the strictly financial piece, and then there's the collaborative building piece. And that's so clearly what has gone into making this race event in particular what it is today. But there's Alan, I know that you know this race and its history inside and out. And so I know that you could, give us a huge education in that. But there have obviously been some really exciting key moments of growth for this race and for this event over the last several decades again. The birth of the Toronto Waterfront Marathon itself back in the year 2000. And I believe at that time there were a whopping 143 finishers. Since then, it's gone through course changes and participation number differences. And of course, we've moved into a virtual space out of necessity over the last year and a half. Maybe you can take us through some of the key growth events or periods of tremendous change that this race event has seen over its illustrious years.
Sure. Though we do have 2 or 3 hours, right?
And I know it would take that, but maybe some of the ones that really strike you and stand out as pivotal to making it what it is.
In all seriousness, I think that I would probably divide the whole period since we began the Canada Running Series, which began as the Coors Light Running Series, presented by Q107, rock radio in 1990, through to the present day.
Were you a DJ in a past life, Alan?
Somewhere in there.
Yeah. One of your many hats.
We're divided into 3 periods, really. The first period was sort of 1990, the very beginning, through to maybe 97, 99. And I call that the sort of period where we planted the seeds. And then a second period from the year 2000, when we introduced the full marathon, through to about maybe 90, 97, 98 in there. And then, the present, the modern period from 2008, 2009 through to the present day. And that, as you said, is probably the professional period where we became an international class professional race. You'd mentioned earlier, though, Kate, that from the beginning, we wanted to build certain kind of races that were connected with the broader community and building community in the city. We had 6 races in the Canada Running Series, but the Coors Light Toronto Half Marathon and 5K was really the flagship from the beginning to the present day, where we introduced all our new ideas and our new concepts. And so from the beginning, it was important to have this balance that you mentioned between sport and community. So the first 2 years, our women's winner was Joan Benoit Samuelson, 1984 gold medal winner of the first marathon for women in the Olympic Games in Los Angeles. And she just had the birth of her daughter, who came with her as a baby. We had to fly them first class from Boston. Joni was an amazing ambassador for us those first 2 years. And then in 91, 92, Olympian, US Olympian again, Ed Eyestone won the men's race. And Ed, the key to twisting Ed's arm to come was to get him baseball tickets. because of course Ed was from Utah and they didn't have a pro baseball team. And if we could get in the Scotia or someone else's box for the Blue Jays game, Ed was in for sure. And so many stories I remember with Ed. This was at another race in the series, but the sound system in our early seeding years, the sound system failed. So I had to do the awards ceremony with a megaphone. And then I got to the point, and now our men's winner today, Ed Eyestone. And Ed came up, with his fairly broad American accent and said, "Oh, I always wanted to do that. Okay, everybody, lay down your weapons and put up your hands and come on out." And he was a great energy in those early years. Just like Joni established that sport component. And then we had the YMCA Community Fund. And I don't know if you can see this. This is,
so pull it to your right a little bit. There we go. Yep.
It's
amazing.
It's a box that I got from the YMCA Community Fund, and the calculator in it still works.
That's well made.
Can you believe that? And then in '94, we switched to the brand new, it wasn't even finished, the construction yet, the Marvell Koffler Breast Center at Mount Sinai, that was so important, in the women's cause in the community. Marvell and Murray Koffler, who founded Shoppers Drug Mart, got involved and came on out and walked the 5K. By then we had GMC as a sponsor, and it was the GMC Toronto Half Marathon and the 5K Jimmy Jog. And you can see the entry form with a Jimmy SUV on there.
Oh my gosh.
I think this was from '97, the first year that Scotia came in. But again, so much energy from people in the sport and people in the community. And in '94, our winner was actually Alejandro Cruz, who was really the beginning of our sort of love affair with Mexican runners and Mexican representation in the race. GMC stood down in '97, and Scotiabank had actually been a title partner of the Scotiabank Spring Runoff in Hyde Park that we all know so well, and your coach Dave Reed and I.
Yeah.
But they were just in that a couple of years. GMC, who'd been a great partner, decided to put their money all into skiing. And Warren Jeston, the chief economist, said, "Oh, can we get into the half marathon?" And that was really the beginning of the next era, where we really took flight. From then to 2000, when we established the full marathon. And I think the next few years, 2003, 4, and 5, were the turning point. You'd mentioned earlier how few runners we had. And I think Dan Howard, who was a good local runner and a fine banker, won maybe the first or second edition in like 240 or 244. But there was an old geezer in 2003 who was 71 years old and came across the finish line in 2:59:10 and became the first septuagenarian on the planet to go under that magic 3 hours. And Runner's World USA, which then people actually read real magazines. The front page heralded a day for the ages, new world records in Berlin and Toronto. And Ed Mania was on. The same day, Fauja Singh ran 5 hours 40 and set a new Masters 90 plus record. And it was really the Ed and Fauja show. I went to Rotterdam. We set up a home and away match with a very good 70-year-old Dutch runner and Ymca. Ed won both the home and away. And I went to Rotterdam with Ed. And I don't know if you can see the marks here. I have a nice sort of scar there. And it showed what a gentleman Ed was. I was with him and we were in the sort of athlete holding room after the race. Ed had run 2:58 on a bit of a windy day. And we all left this room in the city hall to go to another building for the awards ceremony. And we got halfway there walking and they said, "Oh, I forgot my backpack, Ed. I'm just going to run back and get it. You carry on to the awards." And there were these plate glass doors that had been open all morning. And there was a little porch in front of the door so you couldn't see. I'm running full tilt and I go straight through the plate glass. They have to pull me through the broken glass. It cut a small artery. The blood was spurting. I end up going to the university hospital. And of course, rather than go to the awards and get all the glory, Ed came over to the hospital with me. And there I am. They take the bandaging off and blood spurting. And all these doctors are in the room and that's saying, "Oh, Mr. Whitlock, let me shake your hand, Mr. Whitlock. Wonderful race." And I was, "Oh no, I'm bleeding out here."
That's the problem with bringing a celebrity with you to a medical emergency. You don't get the attention you need.
Being the guy carrying the backpack, yeah.
Right. Oh my gosh. And they say that running is a low contact, low injury sport, right?
Yeah.
Oh, that's funny.
But Ed changed things. We went from a few hundred finishes to like 2,000 with Ed and Fauja. Even in 2005, we went to New York City and Runners World then gave these awards. And Ed was given the award, the Master. And all these, other high performance athletes got up before Ed and talked about their training and their coaches and their supplements. And Ed got up and said, "Well, I don't really know what to say. I don't have a coach and I don't have a sponsor. I just like to run. And I pretty well eat whatever my wife, Brenda, puts in front of me." And it brought the house down. But one thing that Ed did say, and he said it quite a number of times over that key period when he broke onto the world scene and put our race on the front page of Runner's World. "Don't limit yourself. You'll be amazed what you can accomplish if you don't limit yourself." And I think Ed showed us the way that we realized that Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon with the great partnership could be like Ed, international class, if we didn't limit ourselves. And so the next period was really getting it to go from the Ed and Fauja world record, age group world records, to a world-class open race. But I should just interject that again, this period was so important in 2003 and 2004, we introduced the Scotiabank Charity Challenge. And again, that was something I'd been going to London Marathon every year. And, you know, they raise 50, 60 million pounds a year, having many, many charities. Mm-hmm. And I brought this idea back because Mount Sinai was going in a different direction. And some of the people actually said to me, multiple charities? No, you have one event, you have one charity. This will never work.
Thankfully, you proved them wrong, Alan.
Oh, and now we've raised something like, since the inception there, over $45 million for hundreds of primarily local charities, small community-based charities, by Scotia providing a state-of-the-art online fundraising platform, mm-hmm. and actually paying the processing fees and the credit card fees so that the charities receive 100 cents on the dollar. And I think that first year, 2003, was a pilot. It was the year of Ed, but it was also the year where we created the charity challenge with 5 mm-hmm. or 6 charities, and then it went to 20, and then it went to 100, and then it went to 200, and even with the virtual race last year, you know, we raised almost $3 million mm-hmm. for close to 200 local charities. And then in 2004, we introduced the neighborhood challenge that highlighted different neighborhoods and their cheer sites, again, to get that community engagement. With the charity challenge, we were raising funds, the running community that reached into every corner of the community and beyond, and benefited their programs all year long. So they were happy to see the marathon come around. It wasn't something to moan and groan about, something blocking traffic.
Right.
It was a positive part of the city building process, a relevant part.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
I'm glad you brought up the charity challenge. Of course, I was going to ask you about that, Alan, and maybe just for our audience to dive into a few more of those stats. So as you mentioned, in 2003, the Scotiabank Group Charity Challenge was established. And that year, you know, for a debut year, $198,000 was raised. And I think that's pretty impressive, again, for what you called a pilot project. But it's been really astounding to see how much those numbers have grown. So in 2007, it was $925,000 were raised. The next year, that jumped to 1.42 million. And the year after that, in 2009, it was 2.36 million. And I know that you had said it was over 45 million. The stats that I saw is that the Scotiabank Charity Challenge, since its inception, has actually raised over $84 million that have gone directly to charities across Canada to build those vibrant communities. So what an outstanding accomplishment. And again, what a fantastic partnership. And I think Alan's frozen. Are you frozen, Alan?
Oh, I hope not. No.
Okay, there you are.
No, I was just listening. I would like to say the difference for everyone joining in on the session. The 45 million has been raised solely through the Scotiabank Toronto Waterfront Marathon.
Yeah.
We in '99 added a Scotiabank Vancouver half, and a few years later, Scotiabank Banque Scotia Demi-Marathon de Montreal. And then Scotia asked, they loved the concept so much, could they take it to other races that they were involved in rather than just Canada Running Series? So they took it to Ottawa, they took it to Calgary, they took it to Blue Nose, and that's the 80 million number.
Unbelievable.
For wow. All of it. But guess what? In 2007, Kate, we had another a sporting breakthrough. For years, at the very beginning, people would tell me, and it drove me nuts, Alan, if you want a decent race, you have to go to the States. And obviously there are some amazing events there, but we wanted to create something, you know, international class, special for Canada. People told us, there'll never be a sub 210 in Canada. Never going to see that. And then in 2007, Kenya's John Kalai finishing on Wellington Street there at Metro Hall, ran 2:09 to 30. And boom, the next 4 years, Kenneth Mungara won the race and took it down from 2009 to 209 to 208 to 207. And then we had a race at the front end. And we received it. It was then the IAAF silver label. In the first year, they introduced the label program in 2008. And we moved the race to Nathan Phillips Square. Mayor David Miller was a big fan, was a runner too. And he said, "Oh, you've outgrown this space with all the charity runners, all the, the recreational runners, the sport runners. Come on up to Nathan Phillips Square." And again, that sort of took us to the next level. We were center stage as a signature event in Toronto to come after TIFF, and now to get runners, 25,000 runners from 75 countries. But all the while, Charlotte and Chris and the team really built a professional team. Originally, I had one or two people working with me, and now there are almost 20, and they're event professionals. And the sport has become professional, as you know, as an athlete, but the organization needed to. And that is what has allowed us to grow. Our good friends in Chicago have been amazing mentors, our friends in London, but especially Chicago, in helping build the infrastructure. And then you remember Lanny and Krista, 2013. Oh,
one of my favorite years, watching both of them come in under Sylvia Ruger's 28-year-old
and Sylvia was there too.
And she was, yes, and holding the finish line banner and putting the medals around their necks and giving interviews. I mean, for her to be there as such a heroine of our sport was thrilling, and really great to see, especially two women go under that record. And we've seen since then how many more times it's gone down. And I think so much of it comes back to both what you and Ed said about not putting limits on yourself, and for other runners to see what those two women accomplished on that day and to suddenly believe that it was possible. As a person who's not even a marathoner herself, that gave me the belief that I could be limitless. And I think that transcends any level of sport, whether you're a front of the pack runner or someone completing their first 5K, that sense of belief and the idea that we can be limitless is infectious.
Yeah, and just like Ed showed us that leadership, that he could show us the way. We wanted to build this event that would show the way in Canada. And if I can chronologically flip back to 2011, 2010, Eric Gillis ran the first time, and 2011, Eric and Reed both ran, and they were hoping to get under the 2:11:29 qualifying standard for the London Olympic Marathon. We had only sent one person to run in the marathon to represent Canada since 1996, Bruce Deacon in 2000. And I remember I gave Eric a bit more appearance money than Reed, because he'd already run the 2:13 at Houston. And Reed will get a chuckle out of this if he's watching. And he had an amazing race. He didn't limit himself. Coming back through the beaches, he was leading the race. And we thought he might even at that point take out Jerome Drayton's 40-year-old
Mhm.
almost 40-year-old record then, national men's record. He faded just a bit, but he came in third, in this world-class race.
Mhm.
And he came across the finish line and he was so pumped, high 210. And I had to chase him to bring him back to the mix zone, to the media. And I remember I had told him when he asked me why he got less appearance money than Eric, I told him, well, Eric's a 213 marathoner. You're only a 216 guy.
Not
And
anymore.
and that's what he said to me. I'm not a 216 guy anymore.
But fantastic that he could prove that to you, in Toronto on
And he
this
did it, and I
relative
was
home
right
course.
there.
Yeah.
And that's maybe my most special moment of that so many special moments. But in 2011, Reed and I were standing there at the finish line, and Eric had to run 2:11:29 for his Olympic dreams. And he's coming up Bay Street there to the finish line. And he gets around the corner, and Kevin McKinnon, our announcer, has the whole crowd on their feet,
I
and they're
remember that.
counting down 10,
Yeah.
9, 8, 7. Eric's just going eyeballs out. We're all jumping up and down. He crosses the line. It looks like 2:11:28, but I run over to the Sports Stats official timing, and they confirm it's officially 2:11:28. And, Eric has
1
made his
second under the
Olympic
standard.
dream
Oh,
by 1 second after racing 42.195 kilometers.
yeah.
Just so many moments. A couple of final things, I guess. In 2015, we got the Athletics Canada Marathon Championship awarded that we still have, and seen some great finishes in that. And we also hosted with Parkdale Roadrunners BTGYYZ, Bridge the Gap movement, and there were like some 200 crews from around the world that came. Parkdale really hosted the whole thing, but it was based around the race. And Charlie Dart came from Run Dem Crew in London, and I've never seen a talk at the expo there at Exhibition Place so packed. There were hundreds of people, and again there was this energy of us all collaborating, a global community coming together. And then, of course, Cam in 2018, when people said, Drayton's record will never be broken. And you were there, I think?
I was not there. I was at my college roommate's wedding that year. That was the one race I missed, Alan, but you better believe that I watched it online and was screaming at my laptop every step of that race, every step of the way. And again, just thrilling to see both the men's and women's records that had stood for decades go down for the first time on this course in front of a crowd that I think partly thanks to the excitement that's been built up through you and the team over the years, the crowd really understands and appreciates the meaning of these accomplishments. And so again, whether you're a mid-pack, back of the pack runner, or you're up kind of racing someone like a Lanny or a Krista or a Cam, you can really appreciate what it means for these milestones to have gone down in Toronto, in Canada, where we can all see it and appreciate it and kind of share in that celebration together. And that's the piece that I love as an STWM spectator and media participant, being able to be part of that exciting series of milestones with you all. And, maybe that's how we'll end, Alan, because obviously the last year and a half has been, we've talked about this lots on Runners High. We've talked about it with other race directors across the country, just the challenges that this last year and a half has brought to race directing, to the industry, to runners in general. Everyone really seeking that the in-person experience, but in lieu of that, a really strong virtual experience. this year we're seeing sort of the birth of more hybrid events. So there will be in-person racing, and there will be the virtual component as well. But we opened the conversation with talking about partnerships. And I think it's fair to say that strong partnerships based on trust and based on experience have become even more important during periods of crisis like the COVID-19 pandemic. And I'm curious about what gets you most excited and hopeful about the future of not only this event, but about our sport in general as we come hopefully out of this period of crisis.
Yeah, I think it's been difficult for everybody. I know, when the pandemic started and we started canceling things, there were a lot of tears on our team, literally. Something that you've built over all those years. But just like the 10K that we're having now, where, Athletics Canada, Ottawa, the city of Toronto, everyone's sort of come together to collaborate to make it happen. That's really what's carried us through. And the energy of the community, the support of the community, without digressing too much, for many years, I went to Boston and I went to New York. And when you went there, it was a showcase of American running. You'd be walking down the street or in the expo, and you'd bump into Boston Billy Rogers. You'd bump into Frank Shorty. You'd bump into Joni or Paddy Catalano. And we wanted to create that sort of event that would bring all of Canada together as a running community, and our friends, our community internationally, from Mexico to Charlie and Run Dem crew. And I think we've all had to pull together the last 18 months or so. The government's been amazing. We have, thanks to the government support programs, we did not have to lay anybody off. We all had to pinch a little, tighten our belts. But thanks to the government and thanks to our great partner, Scotiabank, especially, we were able to keep everyone together. And it really taken us more than a decade to build this team. And that was the big thing. What happens, the team, the company that we get our barricades from, the head of that company has been selling flooring for the last 18 months. People have had to leave, and we were able to keep our world-class team together, so that while it's been amazingly challenging that they had to do two jobs to learn how to put together an appealing virtual race that would keep us connected, and all the pieces like your runner's high and PBs and jams and so on, while at the same time just going over and over and over, the requirements to return to in-person racing and what was happening across North America and around the world. And the goalposts kept moving, right? At the beginning, all the parks were closed. We were told not to go outside. And then all of a sudden, everyone, go outside, don't go indoor. And we had to learn these kinds of things. So it's going to be a wonderful opportunity this weekend to come together again. That's what it's about. It's about building our community, caring for each other, and everyone's energy, everyone's contribution, their passion, their dedication. Our charities in the virtual race, in the real live race, our charities are about usually maybe 25% of the runners. And in the virtual race, they went to like 35% of the runners, because the charity runners are so committed to their cause. They were going to stay running, they were going to stay connected. and they were going to do their fundraising. So everybody, on behalf of all of us at Canada Running Series, enjoy every moment, whether you're trying to win a national championship up front, like the Battle of the Bends with Ben Priestner and Benny Flanagan, Tasha Wodak and our other Olympians like Evan Dunphy, who maybe even giving out some craft dinners on the side after the race, or whether you're like John Bingham used to say, if the races are such a great experience, why do you want to hurry up and get them over with sooner, from first to last? Have a wonderful weekend, and thank you for your energy, your support, and keeping us all together.
Fantastic final words from Alan Brookes, race director at Canada Running Series. Again, you can visit their website, their social media channels to learn more, but good luck to everyone competing in person or at your virtual races. Thank you again to Scotiabank for their 25 years of partnership with Canada Running Series. And until next time, stay safe, run healthy, and we'll chat again soon.